The site of our studio is Annabelle Basin, Queens. It exists on the East River and has potential to be an important piece of the vibrant life that exists in it. However, many buildings along the river are at risk of flooding. This structure would also stand along other New York City icons such as the United Nations and Four Freedoms Park.
Welcome to the year 2077. It has been 27 years since the flooding began, and we have barely been able to adapt the ways in which we live in our city to suit the changes in the climate. Here is your mission. Design a structure that will stand for the first of its kind, a place of shelter in a time of crisis. This structure will then eventually catalyze New York City's initiative to prepare for climate change in hopes to prepare New York City for the potential of permanent. But do not be fooled. For man's obsession with perfection and efficiency in nature will only distance you from her dialogue. To find answers, one must be able to alter their perception of beauty and transform disaster into balance. Good luck.
The goal of this project is to establish a precedent for how we can strengthen our relationship to disaster. The entire energy from waste process depends on two sources, trash and water, and we realized that there is an abundance of water on the site, so we began the design process looking for ways to collect water of the site and bring it into the factory. The Hoover Dam was our precedent to develop the concept of a battery. This giant battery uses solar energy to pump up water up the river to be stored above the dam. The flow of the water is converted into energy once it's released back into the river when there is need for more energy. So the first thing we did was completely flood the site and establish large cisterns that would use excess energy from the process to collect and store water as a way to reserve energy, creating an urban battery. The cisterns also function to lift the entire factory off the ground to form a table that would become the primary structure of the factory. Having created such large pieces of industrial infrastructure, we must reconcile the implications of placing an industrial beast within an urban context, where its smokestack stands for a symbol of pollution and sickness. We explored the concept of décolletage as a game between the viewer and the body, in which the parts of the body that are hidden become more desirable to the viewer through the slight revealance of the other counterparts of the body. We dress the beast in an elegant skin, but do not fully cover it. For its skin is comprised of members that open in different directions, so what is being revealed changes as one travels around the building. And the large slit in the skin reveal the internal industrial autonomy of the battery as a strategy to seduce the viewer into engaging the building. During the day, the skin obscures the majority of the program, but at night the skin disappears and reveals the industrial autonomy of the project. The remaining layers of the building, such as the interior spaces, connections to the site, and skin hang onto the battery, allowing it to be suspended above the site and the projected floodline. In section, you can start to understand the life cycle of the project as water is pumped up into the cisterns and become the centerpiece for the industrial program and the surrounding public spaces. Also, this section shows how the ferry terminal engages the floodline. As you can see, the ferry terminal has been built in multiple tiers, allowing for continued operation if the flood is to reach its potential projected height. The site plan shows how the legs of the building extend into the adjacent parks and wrap around the factory. Flood. In plan, we see the internal autonomy of the waste-to-energy plan and both the integration and branching off of public spaces. These spaces are designed to be large, adaptable, and flexible programmatic spaces that would suit the needs of large-scale gatherings and serve as a place of shelter in a time of crisis. Finally, in these images, you can see the ways that people can start to engage with this type of architecture by operating in the space between the skin and factory.